Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to another conscious conversation with Erin. I don't even know what to title these, but I just feel super called to share in the world my own experiences and what I'm learning. And I think as we go through this evolution of up leveling, of transcending to the next dimension, just as we talk about, in evolution, we're evolving as human beings and we're evolving in an amazing rate and an amazing speed, and we're raising our consciousness. We're moving to a different density of consciousness. We're moving from our solar plexus, our ego-based self-identification, into heart-based consciousness, which becomes the conduit. It's also Christ consciousness, when we seek as an example of what's the consciousness that we're rising to on the planet. We're rising to be like Christ. When they talk about there's a second coming of Christ, it's not about a physical individual person. It's about a rise in our consciousness to be like him, to be in union with the oneness of the universe. And Jesus talked about all these things of, I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. And in that passage, he's telling us that there is a interconnectedness and oneness with the universe that we're a part of. There's only one of us here. God, source, the universe, divine, everything that we're experiencing, whether it's other human beings, other object, you name it, everything is part of God. And that's our first lesson that we're really trying to learn. And I think the hardest one to learn, because the other aspect that we have going on is anytime that there is division or separate or ego-based consciousness, we're not coming into union. So if I see other human beings is separate from myself, how can I possibly interrelate and love and interact with them? And so my soul feels called to just share all this wisdom, um, to engage and build a community where people can explore and learn and feel safe and go on this journey as we evolve. And it includes everything. It includes a conversation that I had last week with Megan Sillytoe around our nervous system and our nervous system regulation. Like, if you really start to distill and listen, everybody's talking about the same thing in various different ways. So when she talks about nervous system regulation and getting it regulated, that's moving from the dysregulated states, our ego, to a regulated state, which would be more of our heart-centered, our Christ consciousness, fourth density consciousness, whatever. When we're regulated, we're in a state of connection with God, source, universe, divine. And when we're in that flow, we make some amazing decisions and amazing things come in for us. So my goal is to show up, to, I think, be a conduit to have conversation, to engage people in the conversation so that we evolve and grow as a human species. That's why we're here. We are all interconnected. We all have to work together to create the change that we want to see on this planet Earth. So I'll just continue to share my heart and what is meant to come through. And today, what's really been coming through for me the last couple days is this concept of, if you read the Course in Miracles, it talks about kind of two things. So the one that it talks about is we don't perceive our own best interests. So if we think about being in union in one with God, source, the universe, divine, and we also have our ego, which is the illusion of our separate self. It's our ego likes to think that I'm separate from everybody else. And it ultimately is perceiving itself as the doer and as a separate entity from God that can somehow influence or change the course of reality, which, again, if you, in kind of paradoxical and funny, it's like, how egoic is that to think that our ego has power that's greater than God? And it doesn't. And that gets into the whole conversation of doership and non-doership. But the other reality that we have here is that we're under the universal law, which I keep referencing, the law of one, that we're all interconnected. We're all under the law of we are one, and we're here to co-create with God, source, the universe, divine. We can't separate that from ourselves, just like we can't separate ourselves from gravity that keeps us down on this planet. We have universal laws that are always in play, always in force, and they're always working for our highest and greatest good. They're not working against us. Like, we have really simple laws that we're here to follow, and we need to lean into those and follow those, because those influence and impact every aspect of our lives. So when I think of the law of one and I'm interconnected with every other human being, well, guess what? Only what I'm not giving in any situation can be lacking. So what does that mean? So if I want to have an incredible friendship with a friend, let's say, or maybe a lover, or whatever the case might be, and I am closed off, I'm not engaged in that, not giving all of myself, what happens? I receive back closed offness. I'm getting back exactly what I'm putting out. And so the universe is always a mirror. It's always correcting us. And we're really here to know that there's one thing going on. The one thing that's going on is that we are here to be interconnected and to know that I and my brother are one, and that really the only law that we have to adhere to is really the golden rule, is to treat others the way we want to be treated. And so we're going to dive into this every day because there's always a lesson that's going on. But I was reflecting on this concept, if you're just joining, about the ego and how it's the illusion of our separate self. And it's what's really designed to protect us. And it's also part of that primal nervous system response, fight or flight, freeze or fawn. Like, it is, it's trying to keep us safe. But what we don't realize is that when we step into oneness, we're even safer than when we have this perceived over identification of self in a separation. So I was thinking about the Course in Miracles, and it talks about how we as human beings do not perceive our own best interest. And when I really leaned into that, it was like, oh, wow. I really never thought about how my ego thinks it knows what's best, and in its egoic knowingness, it's actually keeping me out of higher and greater things happening within myself. And so that's one thing for us to really grasp, how do we set ourselves aside and connect in with the oneness and the wholeness who we are, because our ego, also from the Course in Miracles, is our own energy working against us. Your ego is your own best interest working against you. Because if I perceive myself as connected and one with the whole, one with everything, like, then the ego has no place. So if it's telling me, no, Erin, stay over here, like, listen to this, don't do this, like, that's all the ego. Like, that isn't my highest self. That isn't protecting me from, it's actually restricting me back from receiving all of the goodness and abundance that the universe is trying to gift me. And when I was reflecting on this conversation of like, we don't perceive our own best interest, and our ego is essentially our own best interest working against us, and we look at this world and how we're interacting, which is very much from an egoic place, then you have to ask yourself the question, and I asked myself this question because this was a big aha for me last night as I was reflecting on something in my life and something that's very important to me. And I want something different to come out of this situation. But then I think about, where am I also tapping in, tuning on, and listening to the advice to really guide me to bring that to the fullest expression that it possibly can be. And I was thinking about it of like, okay, I've turned to, giving my energy out. So I myself, my ego, Erin here, I myself can't perceive my own best interest, but yet I'm going to let another individual, maybe, whatever it may be, give me advice around the way that I'm supposed to be. And I was like, okay, so I don't perceive my own best interest. So why am I allowing this other person that's also coming from ego, that thinks I have this to offer the world and this is the way that it is? Like, why am I also perceiving that they have my best interest in heart? They wouldn't possibly have my own best interest in heart, because I myself don't even have my own best interest at heart. So the only thing or, person that has your own best interest at heart is God, is source, is the universe, is the divine. So our ego is our biggest obstacle to overcome. We're transcending that to overcome the energy within ourselves that is essentially working against us, our primal state of being. We have so much centripetal force, like, already working against us. Like, why does ascension and awakening, and why is that so painful? Because you're working through all those layers of transcendence of your egoic beliefs. So I saw a friend yesterday, and she posted the most beautiful video. And one of the things she said was just like, there's an expression out, but it's like, people want to be so quick to offer advice, or, whatever the case might be. And it's like, can we just hold loving space for people? No, what if no one's seeking answers? What if everybody is seeking answers within themselves? And what you as a human can offer them is the space for them to find that answer within themselves, to not be the voice of, I know how to solve it, or I know how to fix it. Because again, I am going to keep repeating this again and again and again. Each one of us has our own unique soul blueprint. We have our own unique frequency that we're here to tune into. There is not another soul that has the same frequency as us. So there is not another soul on this planet that has the answers or the examples that free us to tell us how to tune into our own frequency. The only way we get to that space is through our own learning, through being lived and having experiences, to be in relationship and to understand what's going on so that you can grow, that you can ascend, that you can transform into the highest and greatest person that you're meant to be here. So every human being is here just as is a mirror for us to learn through. We actually don't even really have to do much. We just have to hold space. One of the greatest lessons I learned about communication was how to be a great listener, like how to just sit and just hold space, because as that person talked and worked through it, they were getting their own answers. And so I really just encourage, my challenge for you today is to notice, where has your ego come in? Where has that loud voice that, in the Course in Miracles, it says the ego speaks first and the ego speaks loudest. Where has that come in and actually kept you out of your own best interest, kept you separate from something maybe really amazing that you have in your life, but it's keeping you separate from that? And so just explore, like, where does that come in? And it's very nuanced, but the more you can notice it and recognize it, the more that you're going to be able to step through really transcending it. And that's all we're here to do. We're not here to have some bye ego, it's gone. It doesn't happen like that. That's really not what's going on. What's going on is, do we have the space to see it, to acknowledge it, and to grow within it, and to know the purpose that it serves is to teach us and to transcend and to continue to build those blocks. And so when I look at my life and I look at myself, every day is a win, because if I'm truly curious and exploring every day, there's new lessons to be learned. So how do you dive in and ask yourself, where am I becoming my own obstacle? Where am I putting up barriers that are keeping me restricted from greater abundance, greater flow, and to be in alignment and remember who I am? We're here to balance our humanness, and we're here to remember who we are, which is our divinity. And we're at a constant play of balancing those two out in every moment, in every second of the day. And so this is just a conversation to continue to build awareness. How do you allow your ego to take a seat, and to allow God to do his work, and to know that his work is greater than ours, and that we are here to be a conduit and a vessel, and to be a non-doer in that? And so, yeah, just a profound moment where I was thinking about, like, my ego doesn't perceive my own best interest. How could possibly, like, anybody else perceive my own best interest when I look at what I listen to or think about, or things that I've taken in? And I'm like, okay, I don't have my own best interest. Then I'm listening to that, which is certainly not in my own best interest. So the call, or the key, is tapping in back to listening to source, listening to that small, still voice that's really trying to guide you. So become still. Ask the questions. The universe wants to give that back to you. So more tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. I would love for you to like, share, and subscribe. And more importantly, share a conscious, enlightened perspective. Like, the only way we're going to continue to evolve is to just engage in conversation and relationship and move forward, because there is a greater earth, a greater consciousness awaiting us, and I'm ready for us to step into it.